Hello again, my name's Diane Strickland. Today I'm bringing you I think it's the fourth video in our series on myths about partners. Myths that are harmful to partner recovery. These are things that can re-traumatize them and dehumanize them. These are myths that may in fact be unchallenged by or even perpetuated in an addict-centered treatment model. In fact, that is often where partners first hear the myth and have it directed against them. So today's myth is about what they think about you and your sexuality. So here's how it might unfold. Maybe it's in a meeting with his therapist, or what we would consider ill-advised marriage counseling or couples counseling, or in a treatment support group for partners. The partner is sitting there anxiously hopeful that she will hear some validation of what she has endured throughout this relationship and the impact it's had on her to find out what was really happening. She's hopeful usually that there's going to be some support and a way forward. She may be struggling mightily every single day, all day, with a lot of debilitating PTS symptoms, post-traumatic stress symptoms. But she's making every effort not to walk away from this man she has loved and not to abandon him if he needs her. But sitting there shaking inside and out, she will listen to a treatment professional tell her how he's been unhappy in the relationship. He's been unsatisfied by her sexually, that he doesn't find her very sexy and kind of unimaginative sexually. And then the treatment professional will drop the bomb. You aren't really interested in sex, are you? You aren't really interested in sex. So why is that so wrong for a partner to have to hear that? Because most partners, you see, have been sexually abandoned by the sex addicts, sometimes for a very long time. And their sex addicts have resisted every attempt to talk about it, to get help, to explore their unspoken desires together with love and respect. In fact, most partners will have been punished with humiliation and personal insults when they have made overtures to their husbands and boyfriends about their sexual life together. And yet suddenly here they are, having been cast in the role of the frigid partner. And the treatment professional has bought it, hook, line, and sinker, and used it against the partner on his behalf. You really aren't into sex, are you? So we're going to explore this myth using the same criteria as we did with our first videos. So the first one is we look at the reliability of the myth, what's underneath it. Well, this myth, like all the others, has absolutely no research underneath it at all. None. There is no reason for any treatment professional or group or center or program to accept that conclusion about a partner or to use it against her. End of story on that one. The second question we look at is, what is the viewpoint of humanity that this myth in fact reveals? So if you think about the roles of men and women here, that the woman is kind of sexless and the man has his needs, it's really kind of a Victorian caricature, isn't it? Where when it came to sex, women just closed their eyes and thought of England. But a man's sexual needs, if they weren't directed to procreation, they had a right and a need to be served in a secret or hidden life, a veiled life, with sex trade workers, with other available men and women to him, which kind of does begin to sound very much like what's happening with sex addicts and their spouses. And you know what? Even in the Victorian era, wives were infected with syphilis, venereal diseases, all STDs. They endured serious illnesses. They became infertile because of this. And sometimes they even died as a consequence of him serving his needs. This Victorian perspective it's eerily like what partners are enduring right now. Their sexuality is denied, and their husbands or boyfriends create what is often a highly developed secret life so that the partner is abandoned sexually while he serves his own needs. And finally, when the truth comes out, well, it's all her fault because she supposedly doesn't like sex. So that's kind of the picture here. We're in like a bad Victorian novel, and we're in a role that doesn't fit us, but it seems to suit what's going on for the sex addict. So then our third question is to ask, does the myth sound like something else we know from sex addiction behaviors? Well, once again, we have the same answer we almost always have, which is that it's not just a Victorian throwback. It's what we call blame shifting. For the partner, it may also be something called gaslighting, where even if she's abandoned sexually, she begins to believe that somehow it is her fault, that she is unattractive, that her breasts are the wrong size, that she isn't sexy enough, and she's turning him off by whatever. So then she begins to doubt herself, that she is a sexual being, that she is attractive, that she has something to offer sexually to the man that she loves. Blame shifting, gaslighting, same old stuff. So the fourth question we ask, well, what are the results that this myth is generating? So we understand whether it's producing anything at all that can help anyone. No, it doesn't. The partner is dehumanized. She is robbed of her sexuality and any confidence to try again to connect sexually with her husband or her boyfriend. The loss of self-esteem in women who are sexually abandoned and then criticized on such a personal level. That's devastating. And when the treatment group starts participating in that, she becomes despairing, isolated, devalued, and very, very easy to manipulate as a fake recovery prop. She has no energy to stand up for herself. She has no one there to speak for her, and she just does what she's told. Some women move into such despair that they become suicidal. This is, in fact, another myth that's lethal to partners. They have no way to imagine themselves as human beings of value, never mind wives or life partners. This is a cutting cruelty, a core humiliation that incapacitates her. It becomes a part of the addict-centered recovery culture in its therapists, in its 12-step groups where they all sit around and talk about all their sexual needs that their wives didn't satisfy. Marriage counselors who get in on the act, programs that take partners and put them in rooms and make them feel even worse about themselves. She is told to lose weight, to shave her genitals, put studs in her tongue, to pose this way, oh no, pose that way, to make this noise or that noise, to have sex with this person or that person because he wants to watch it, to let him video you going to the bathroom if it really gets him off, to have sex with him on demand whenever he asks, no matter what she feels like. And sometimes, this is the sad part, sometimes she does those things and more. And they aren't things she wants to do. They aren't things that make her feel good about anything. But she's trying because she's been told to do this stuff. But this man is used to a wide assortment of men and women servicing in whatever way he has paid them to service him. He is used to a porn lifestyle, to a kind of availability and control that isn't something you find in healthy, positive relationships of mutuality. And the fact is, she cannot succeed no matter how hard she tries. She fails and hits her fault. She can't replace his daily porn habit, his massage parlor visits, his Craigslist hookups, his affairs at work or in the neighborhood, the hookers that he calls on his business trips, all her sincere efforts to be more open and cooperative and satisfying for him sexually become the final humiliation for her. She really can't measure up after all, even when she tries her best to do it. That's what this myth generates. So our fifth question is where I say, can I offer some other explanation of what this myth is really about? And it's really about physical, psychological, spiritual, and emotional abuse of the partner. The sex addict is neutralizing the partner as a whole person in his narrative of sexual activities. He's making her like a prop or a cardboard character. He sets her up and as part of his justification, and works then from then on to make her feel terrible about herself. And he can enlist all these treatment professionals to join him in that. He plays upon misogynist expectations for female attractiveness that are prevalent everywhere, and he humiliates her over and over again. Now the thing is that almost every partner of the hundreds that I have met and talked with was treated in the following ways. She was sexually abandoned early in the marriage or in this committed relationship when she was actually most likely to meet at least some of those misogynist expectations for female attractiveness. So even when she was at her greatest beauty physically, she was abandoned then. And then because of what is almost unknown, always unknown porn use or sexual exploits outside of the relationship, her husband or her boyfriend almost always has erectile dysfunction. And when he's with his partner, he has it because she's a real person. And so he can't be with a real person that he can't control. So he's either got to be with fantasy or unreal porn creatures, or it has to be forbidden sex, or he has to be controlling it by paying for it somehow, or anonymous sex. That's when he feels able to perform sexually. So, in other words, he couldn't get it up. He couldn't keep it up. And he probably couldn't climax because of what he has been doing in his sexual activities. Nothing to do with her. It's about what he has done to himself. Partners tell me how they have tried to talk to their husbands and boyfriends about it. They wrote letters. They cried. They went to marriage encounter. They bought books and videos on how to improve a sex life. They suggested counseling, but their husbands consistently ignored them, blamed them, became angry and scared them, humiliated them, or punished them for raising it at all. These are women who did everything that they could do to connect with their husbands and their boyfriends in sexually intimate ways, but to no avail. So they made do with less. And they hoped that maybe things would get better. They pretended that sex was good when it wasn't. A lot of women have done that for a very long time. And in even the best of the worst scenarios that I know, when the sex addict could actually perform, it became a clinical, mechanical experience of physical release and made these women feel worse, almost more depressed than if they were getting no sex at all. Recently, a partner shared with me in one of these kinds of scenarios the terrible things that her sex addict had said about her sexually. Her criticism of her was soul destroying. And just saying his words out loud to me left her so broken in front of me. And I asked her, would you ever say anything like that to him? And she said, oh, heavens, never. I would never do that. It would destroy him, she said. And I said, and yet he said them to you. He said them to you. And then I said, well, maybe you wouldn't have anything negative to say about him sexually. Is there anything that you could actually begin to describe that isn't so great about him? Well, she was really hesitated and embarrassed, but then she actually had quite a long list of his sexual deficiencies, and I'm not going to name them now because, I'm not here to make men feel bad about their sexual prowess. But the thing was, after that, she said, but I can love him through those things, and I'm willing to work through them, and I know that we can have a sexually satisfying life together anyway, because we'll be working at it and we'll be together. And those mechanical things aren't what make or break sexual life together. But she said, he just wants me to feel ugly, to feel undesirable and highly unsatisfying. That's it in a nutshell. These men are terrified of female sexuality that they can't control through either abuse or by paying for it or by non-reality interactions or by anonymity. So they need to present you to themselves and to others as someone who will not serve their sexual needs. And that's why they've had to go elsewhere. You're just not into sex. It's not true. And you know it's not true. You are not a Victorian caricature. Neither are you a prop for an addict-centered treatment model that has no reliable results published anywhere. You are a woman sorely abused in a place of core vulnerability and ruined by the person most expected to be your most intimate protector and cherisher, and a partner in mutual pleasure and joy. Don't believe this myth about yourself. Don't indulge it, and don't humor those who suggest it. It's not true. These are hard things for partners to deal with and talk about. And I hope that being able to talk about it in some fairly straightforward language has helped you to address what's been going on in your life. And I want to take a moment to say that we have just recently launched a video called First Things First for partners of sex addicts, in which we've identified all of the top priorities that we know partners have to address in order to be a priority in recovery and to look after themselves through this nightmare of an experience. And you can see there's a promo video of that. It's available for purchase. It has 9 videos in it, plus print resources for every one of those videos, covering all kinds of topics of interest to you. And one of the things we used in creating that was a lot of your feedback about these videos. So thank you very, very much for that. So we'll talk again soon.